Introduction to Genesis. First, God. God is the subject of life. God is foundational for living. If we don't have a sense of the primacy of God, we will never get it right, get life right, get our lives right. Not God at the margins, not God as an option, not God on the weekends. God at center and circumference, God first and last. God, God, God. Genesis gets us off on the right foot. Genesis pulls us into a sense of reality that is shaped by God and God-filled. It gives us a vocabulary for speaking accurately and comprehensively about our lives, where we come from and where we are going, what we think, what we do, the people we live with and how to get along with them, the troubles we find ourselves in, and the blessings that keep arriving. Genesis uses words to make a foundation that is solid and true. Everything we think and do and feel is material in a building operation in which we are engaged all our life long. There is immense significance in everything that we do. Our speech and our actions and our prayers are all, every detail, involved in this vast building operation, comprehensively known as the kingdom of God. But we don't build the foundation. The foundation is given. The foundation is firmly in place. Jesus concluded his most famous teaching by telling us that there are two ways to go about our lives. We can build on sand or we can build on rock. No matter how wonderfully we build, if we build on sand, it will all fall to pieces like a house built of cards. We build on what is already there, on the rock. Genesis is a verbal witness to that rock. God's creative acts, God's intervening and gracious judgments, God's call to a life of faith, God's making covenant with us. But Genesis presents none of these to us as an abstract, bloodless truth or principle. We were given a succession of stories with named people who loved and quarreled, believed and doubted, had children and married, experienced sin and grace. If we pay attention, we find that we ourselves are living variations on these very stories. Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, Noah and his sons, Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, and Rebekah, Jacob and Rachel, Joseph and his brothers. These stories show clearly that we are never outsiders or spectators to anything in heaven and earth. God doesn't work impersonally from space. He works with us where we are as he finds us. No matter what we do, good or bad, we continue to be part of everything that God is doing. Nobody can drop out. There's no place to drop out to. So we may as well get started and take our place in the story at the beginning. Tradition attributes Genesis to Moses, a gnarled, stubborn, but oddly humble man who led a rabble of slave families out of Egypt to become one nation under God. Moses had a pampered Egyptian prince, a murderer, and then a desert tribesman, but he was a Hebrew and he ended up working for the Hebrews' God. To the Hebrew slaves had a different language and culture from the Egyptian masters. So as long as they were under the thumb of these oppressors, they stuck together. Once free, however, and left to themselves, they tended to splinter into squabbling clans. God wanted to forge them into a nation, Israel with God as its king. In Genesis, Moses traced their roots to a single family and even to the foundation of the planet and the human species. He wanted them to know where they'd come from in order to understand where they were going. Very roughly, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Jacob's 12 sons probably lived between 1900 and 1650 BC. The pharaohs of Egypt's Middle Kingdom, such as, built smaller pyramids than the famous ones of the Old Kingdom. Still, Egypt was a commercial powerhouse and employed many foreigners. At this time, Babylon's king Hermabri developed the first known written law code, and in distant Britain, Druids were actively using Stonehenge.